My name is Diane Lambert, and I will be your webinar moderator. The first of 4 webinars that will be hosted by the National Center for Safe Routes to School this year. Today's webinar has been made possible with funding provided by the Federal Highway Administration, and thank you all for joining us. Special thanks to our presenters who are sharing their time and experiences with us today as we discuss ideas to promote bicycling. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to go over. The phone number and access code for today's webinar is shown on the screen. If you're having technical difficulties, please email me at dlambert@tooldesign.com. I'll have my email open in another window, and I'll try to respond as soon as possible. With the exception of today's speakers, all attendee phone lines are muted, but we still want to hear from you. So after today's presentations, we'll have a brief question and answer session with the presenters. If you have any questions related to today's topic, please submit them using the question function located in the GoToWebinar window in the upper right side of your screen. I'll be monitoring all questions received, and we'll get through as many as we can before the hour is up. If you have questions about other Safe Routes to School topics, please send them to the National Center at info@saferoutesinfo.org. And finally, this webinar will be recorded and uploaded to the National Center website at www.saferoutesinfo.org under Events and Training. And with that, we're ready to get started. Today's webinar is Putting the Metal to the Pedal, Ideas for Promoting Bicycling. Last year's Bike to School Day really sizzled, and this year we're expecting even greater participation. Our speakers today will share how their schools are using events and other creative ways to get students, parents, and schools into the saddle. Nicole Brown is a Senior School Outreach Coordinator for the South Carolina Safe Routes to School Resource Center. Nicole will describe how Ebenezer Avenue Elementary managed to engage 6th grade students in teaching bike safety and then catapulted excitement for bicycling at their school. Michelle Sirounis is the Health and Physical Education teacher at Roosevelt Elementary School in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Michelle will share her secrets for keeping a 7-year-old bike promotion program fresh and sustained. And just a heads up that Michelle is presenting today immediately following her last class at school, so it's likely she's going to have to pause in the middle of her presentation a moment, and we'll all wait while the school bell rings. So just a heads up about that, and apologies in advance. And then after the speaker presentations, we'll open the floor for questions, as I had mentioned. But first, we have a special treat. Lauren Marchetti, the director for the National Center for Safe Routes to School, has a few words for us about this year's Bike to School Day.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. I'm excited about being on the call today because we're just a few weeks away from May starting, which is Bike Month. And for the last 2 years, we've celebrated Bike to School Day in May, and this year it's going to be May 7th. And this being the 3rd event, we've just had tremendous growth. As Diane was saying, it sizzled last year. And when we say sizzle, we mean it saw an 80% increase in number of events from the first year. Last year there was 1,705 events that registered, and we know there were a lot more than that. And the reason I'm spending a few minutes telling you about this today is that I hope some of you may be in positions to consider leading an event at a school, or others of you may be in positions to encourage a school to do an event, or maybe just bike to school with your child that day. I do like to make the point that Bike to School Day is much more than an event. It really is an opportunity to lead to programs, to bringing community together, to celebrate the things that are right about the trip to school, and to set about trying to fix the things that aren't going well. So the first thing I would like to recommend you do is to go to our website, walkbiketoschool.org. That's where you can register events, and there's even more reasons for doing it, because this is also where we direct media if they want to go and try to cover an event in their particular media market. But if you'll notice a little bit way down on register your event, it says register and be entered into the Helmets on Heads Bike Share giveaway. This is something new we've got this year, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. But just to show you a little bit more about the website, if you go to Who's Biking, you can look by state to see who is already registered. Are there schools in your area? Do you want to be a resource for some of those schools? And then I drill down into Wisconsin so you can see how many events are already registered, and if you click further, which we can't right now for this slide, but you'd be able to see who the contact people were, so you can try to have events that's shared with other schools and other things as well. I mentioned the Bike Share giveaway just a second ago. This is a brand new partnership we had this year with Schwinn's Helmets on Heads program, and their goal is to get more children to sign the pledge to wear helmets and wear them correctly. But what they wanted to do to promote this was there are going to be drawings where schools that win will receive 10 bikes of various sizes and 20 helmets of various sizes. And when you sign up, we even ask you, what might you do if you got 10 bikes and 20 helmets? So you can actually go online and see what are the types of things that you could do with them if you got them. The drawing started today. We drew the first 2 winners. They haven't been contacted yet, but we'll be announcing that later this week, and we will continue to be doing the drawings weekly. So that's another benefit for schools that register, that they have a chance of winning 10 bikes and 20 helmets. The last thing I wanted to mention was some of the resources you can also find at walkbiketoschool.org, which are handouts for children on riding your bike safely, but also for parents on how to make sure your child is a safe cyclist, as well as a lot of other resources to help you with the day. And the final resource I wanted to mention was Map-A-Route, which is a device that lets you find the school in your area. It shows all the streets around, and then you can build a map that will show what the route is you want to take, including adding times and other things, and then you can share it with others at your school. So please, if you are in a position to get an event started at your school, think about it, go to the website. Hopefully you'll be able to register an event, and encourage anyone else that you think might be interested to go to the website and join us this year. I often say that it's easier to sell this vision by people seeing the parents and children and the energy and positive outcomes from these type of events than any presentation. So encourage people to participate, get people out to watch the event, and hopefully we'll continue to sizzle on Bike Month. Thank you, Diane, and thank you, everybody.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Lauren. It sounds like this year's Bike to School Day is going to be another success. What a great partnership there with Schwinn. So now on to our first presenter of the day, and we're going to start with Nicole in South Carolina.
Well, hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Brown, and I am the Upstate School Outreach Coordinator with the South Carolina Safe Routes to School Resource Center. I work personally with more than 110 schools in 16 counties that span across the state of South Carolina, and Ebenezer Avenue Elementary is one of my partner schools located in Rock Hill, which is just south of Charlotte. So today we're going to be talking about Ebenezer's bicycle safety efforts and how they're creating a sustainable program kind of at that ground level and moving forward. But before we get started, just real quickly, what is the Resource Center in South Carolina? SCDOT, the Department of Transportation here, funded the Resource Center to help schools develop sustainable non-infrastructure programs. We have 3 regional staff members that provide one-on-one technical assistance throughout the communities and schools here in South Carolina at no cost. I mentioned that Ebenezer Avenue Elementary is one of our partner schools, and they're actually one of our few gold level partners. So obtaining the gold level partnership status means that the school participates in annual Walk to School Day events. They collect data for us through the tallies and parent surveys, and they've conducted a walk audit and drafted a travel plan with, along with many other activities. But they're very, very active within our Safe Routes to School program here in South Carolina. Ebenezer Avenue Elementary is the only elementary school in the Rock Hill School District to contain students through the 6th grade. So it's unique in that their 6th grade students elect to stay at Ebenezer instead of moving on to their feeder middle school. And that way that those students stay at Ebenezer and they focus on building leadership skills. Every year the 6th grade class hosts a leadership conference for all other 5th graders throughout the entire school district. So these 6th graders just divide themselves up into work groups to develop leadership projects that they can then share at this conference And then those students can take back and replicate these programs and project ideas at their own schools. In the spring of 2013, one of that 6th grade class's groups decided that they wanted a project that focused on school safety. So I came in as a school outreach coordinator and pitched kind of a whole broad number of safe routes to school, safety-related project ideas for those 6th grade students to choose from. As a group, they agreed that they wanted to conduct a walk audit, and they wanted to teach the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's child pedestrian safety curriculum to their kindergarten classes. So the walk audit was attended by a range of community partners, including members from the South Carolina Department of Transportation, the Department of Health and Environmental Control, law enforcement agencies, and school staff. Each student that was present had a specific role during that workshop so that everyone was actively participating. So we had students be note takers, students doing observation tallies, and then students taking pictures. Once the audit was completed, the Resource Center provided a written report summarizing all the issues and opportunities that the group discussed, and the students used this report to create the presentation for the conference. The students also decided to teach the Crossing the Street Safely NHTSA lesson plan to the kindergarten students in preparation for South Carolina Walk to School Day. So South Carolina Walk to School Day is a spring event that replicates International Walk to School Day in March. And the students reported that they loved the song that that lesson plan has the kindergartners perform, which is to the tune of London Bridge is Falling Down. So while on the walk audit, students commented on how overall the community is very walkable and bike-friendly around Ebenezer Avenue Elementary. In fact, there were already a big handful of walkers and bike riders on a daily basis, but that there was certainly room to improve and encourage more. It was also noted that none of the students observed biking home from campus on that afternoon had bike helmets. So as a community, Rock Hill agrees that there was a gap in safety education and encouragement activities in schools. So through an obesity prevention grant funded by the CDC, community members came together to develop a sustainable bike curriculum. Eat Smart Move More York County is a community coalition dedicated to healthy eating and active living efforts. This group applied for and was funded to spearhead the bike curriculum. They contracted with a physical education professor at Winthrop University to develop the curriculum, and she developed the curriculum so that it's relatable not only to York County and the Rock Hill area, but it also meets South Carolina state education standards as well. Two other community partners with this effort included Safe Kids York County, which is an injury prevention group housed within the local hospital system. Safe Kids provided helmets to students who came out and also gave a lesson on helmet safety and ensured that all the helmets were fitted correctly. The students were even able to take the helmets home with them after the lessons were completed. And the program could not have happened without bicycles. So the City of Rock Hill Parks and Recreation Outdoor Education Department loaned Ebenezer Avenue Elementary a fleet of bicycles to use while implementing the curriculum. Parks and Recreation staff also helped teach some of the lesson plans, including the lesson on hand signals and road signs. So Ebenezer piloted this program first in the spring of 2013 and started out with a small group of students, so not the entire class. The PE teacher there was Pattie Starnes, and she'll be on at the end of the call to answer any questions specifically relating to curriculum implementation. But she was worried about student behavior and taking on the whole class all at one time, so they started off with that small group. But the students were all so excited to ride the bikes that they behaved very well. And then with more confidence and experience, Ebenezer Avenue Elementary was able to include all the 6th grade students with instruction in the fall of 2013. They used pre- and post-tests and determined that students' safety knowledge was vastly improving regarding bicycles and the rules of the road. All the students were also required to pass a sign and signal test before they could go on a community ride, which was a culminative effort kind of at the graduation to the curriculum. They organized adult volunteers and chaperones from the City of Rock Hill Parks and Recreation Department and from Safe Kids to ride with the students help increase that level of safety as they were out riding through the community. They even had a student say, now I know safe places I can ride my bike. I can ride the route we went on or ride in the parking lot at school or on the weekends and after school. The student noted that they did not have safe places to ride in the community where they lived, but now they recognized that Ebenezer Avenue Elementary and the surrounding neighborhood did provide that safe place for them to go and bring their bikes even off school hours. So there are a lot of lessons learned through implementing this curriculum. In the beginning, the school asked all the students to bring their bikes if they had one, with the idea being that if a student owned a bike, that they should learn to ride their bike, on that equipment that they're using on a regular basis. But only one student in that first session of spring of 2013 had their own bike. So the school kind of knew that they needed to either get a set of bikes or have a set loaned in order to make this curriculum work. Another thing to note is that during that 2-week implementation time, there wasn't a single absence in the 6th grade. So, for those 2 weeks, kids were real excited to come to school, and they wanted to make sure that they weren't going to miss out on any PE instruction time. With the administration, the things that were noted at Ebenezer Avenue Elementary was that the principal needed to approve any off-campus activities, so that group ride at the end of the curriculum instruction needed to be vetted and approved by the principal beforehand, as well as getting any community volunteers inside the school to work with the students. So making sure if you're getting any volunteers or community members help, getting those details and plans approved by the administration and by the principal could get those things approved ahead of time, and you're not going to hit any snags. Parents were also super interested in the curriculum. Ebenezer got a lot of calls from parents wanting to know more information about the curriculum and about the bikes. So sending home materials early, asking for their support, recruiting parents to help with the instruction and with chaperoning group rides would be an awesome idea. The safety education must have also reminded students and families about how bikeable that community is, because when they started the curriculum in the spring of 2013, they had about 3 bike riders and 3 bikes on the bike rack, but now the bike rack is full every day, and they have 2 parents that ride to school with their students every day. So it's kind of building that momentum and catching on. The more community partners you have, also the more difficult it's going to get in terms of scheduling. So making sure that schools start planning early to allow these community members time to get these events on their calendars and get that approval to leave their work offices and come out to the school. And then lastly, and lesson learned, is that a lot of community partners have great resources and great events that happen all throughout the community, not just at the school that they're working with. So doing a better job with promoting these events and resources to families and parents. So sending out information about community bike rodeos or community helmet giveaways can help spread this, this momentum of bike riding. So since the school originally relied on the City of Rock Hills Parks and Recreation Department to loan the bikes, they knew that the program would need to rely on this partnership indefinitely unless they were able to secure their own set of bikes. So Pattie Starnes, the PE teacher, applied to the local Academy Sports to donate a fleet of bikes, and Academy Sports donated 15 boys' bikes, 15 girls' bikes, and 30 helmets. So this is a great resource that they now have at their school full time. So curriculum is not restricted to only 2 weeks out of every school year. They can use bicycles kind of throughout the entire school year at her discretion. And while Ebenezer did not encounter any students who did not already know how to ride a bike, they're hoping that with this new fleet of bikes, they're going to extend the curriculum to 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And that way, they're getting this skills practice at an earlier age. So if they start at 3rd grade, by the time they get up to 6th grade, everyone will be pro bike riders. So Ebenezer is planning a bike rodeo in honor of Bike to School Day. So their tentative plans are to involve all students, by encouraging them to bring their helmets and sign permission slips to school. If they have both a helmet and a permission slip, the idea is that maybe they can get out of their related arts class to come participate in the bike rodeo on school campus. They also are interested in planning community bike rides to encourage parents and families to come and ride with students. And again, hoping that this will stress the idea that their community is bike friendly and more people can be riding bikes safely throughout the neighborhood. We also talked about starting bike education with younger ages. And so while that fleet of 30 bikes is great, they're kind of large. So if the school wants to include all student population, they're going to need to seek donations for a fleet of bikes sized appropriately for kindergarten students through second grade students. So to start that bike safety education even earlier on in their school time. And then lastly, sixth graders are going to serve as bike role models at the school. So some classes are already coming and kind of watching the sixth graders while they're doing the bike curriculum and PE. And all the younger students are getting really excited, and it's building that excitement to when are they going to get to do this curriculum. So Ebenezer has thought about getting sixth graders to help teach some of the bike safety lessons by taking bikes to other grades' recess breaks and allowing the younger students to use the bikes while they're at recess time. And the future for the curriculum. So this curriculum, was piloted and proven successful at Ebenezer Avenue Elementary, but the hopes are even on a larger scale. East Smart Move More York County is currently seeking sponsors to purchase a trailer and a set of bikes that could be checked out by PE teachers to use throughout the whole county. This would span 4 school districts if everyone in the county got to utilize this bike trailer and bike curriculum. Safe Kids York County, so the folks who kind of did the helmet safety for us, has offered to transport the bike trailer to the schools on a 2-week basis. So every 2 weeks a new school would get it. And ideally, we'd like to see every student receive bike safety education while they're in the grades 4 through 6. And of course, while the trailer is on site, the school would be encouraged to utilize the trailer with their after-school care programs or plan evening and weekend bicycle events such as community bike rodeos or community bike rides. So here is my contact information and Pattie's contact information. And as I mentioned, she is on the phone. And so at the end of the webinar, when we open it up to questions, anything specifically relating to implementation at the school, please feel free to ask Pattie those questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. It's really nice to get the reminder to involve those students. And you really had some great lessons learned to share, so really appreciate that. And now, Michelle, turning it over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Sirounis. I teach at Roosevelt Elementary. This is a K through 6 school located in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And I'm going to talk today about 7 years of implementation and still engaging major stakeholders with bike safety events. Here at Roosevelt Elementary in the county of Brevard, we have, to our advantage, 6 trailers that have been given to us by the Planning and Transportation Organization. Each trailer has 30 bikes and 2 teacher bikes. At the beginning of the year, our Transportation Planning Organization coordinator hands us a schedule, and we determine which month we're going to be able to use the trailer at our school. By teaching community bike safety, we've added these community rides that are a huge success at our school. We take students in 3rd through 6th grade out in the community during their physical education time for 40-minute rides. They are over 3 miles long. These community rides are a vital part. They teach the students to practice their real-world lessons that they've learned. How we got started by doing our community bike rides, where we had teachers, students, and parents get involved in designing routes. One example is located here of a student that did it with her parent and brought it back. Then after the route was decided on, we went and met with our administrators and got approval for this community bike ride to take place during physical education classes. After all the paperwork was in place, we called up and invited our major stakeholders to our events. This included the police. They are a huge component to the success of our community bike rides. Our transportation planning organization representative in our area, her name is Kim Smith. We invited parents, and we even invited staff members. We've had our custodial staff go, we've had teachers, and even our secretary go on our community bike ride here at Roosevelt. To continue the support of our community bike rides, we always encourage the excitement to extend. We get the newspaper out to do articles on our rides. Our biggest component of success this year has been students writing about their rides and awarding them prizes. Here you can see an example of a student that did a power writing exercise, and then we awarded prizes for those top 3 students. We post pictures on bulletin boards all over the school, and we present at the school board meetings thanking them for the support of these rides that we are able to do. Let's switch to Bike to School. We've conducted 3 of these with great success, but I want you to keep in mind that our goal our first year was to start very simple and just to celebrate our success. The biggest thing I can say is if you put the date out on a marquee somewhere and get the PTO involved, you've reached that goal of starting simple and getting it off the ground. So our first year, our simple goal was to have 5 parents ride with students. When it was all said and done, we had 30 riders and we had 10 parents riding with their children. Mind you, they have to get up earlier and they have to set their times to get there at the right time to leave with us. So we did have stragglers, but we just counted the people that met at our starting point. How we did this: we printed flyers that you'll see in a moment. We made sure that students got other students excited by going on the morning news. We had me, the PE teacher, announce it every day for about a week to 2 weeks. We had the PE teacher call parents and other students to get their parents to ride, and then we gathered fun prizes. Remember, those can be donated from local vendors or your TPO representative. Bottom line is to keep a small goal, make it simple, and then post pictures after your event, because all children love to see themselves in pictures. Just for a second, I want to talk about the small prizes. You can see this student's helmet is decorated with many stickers. We're lucky that we are right by Ron John's here in Cocoa Beach, and they donate stickers. These prizes don't have to be anything elaborate, but it has shown a big growth in the number of students that participate for just that small incentive. Shoelaces, coloring books, crayons. You can see on the table there are some reflective gear for when they're biking at night. That was all donated by the TPO representative. So I like to make things simple, and I put it 10 keys for a very successful event that you can have. I believe that the first key is to get the police department in your city involved, ask them for help. Then I believe we must meet with our administration to decide on the possible theme and departure time, making sure that everyone's on board. Prepare your flyer, distribute them in a timely fashion, get your transportation organization representative and local vendors to give prizes for your event. Make sure you contact the local newspaper to cover the event. They'll do it even if it's small. We provide a breakfast. That's something to think about. Get your principal involved and really pump up the fun. We get our secretary to come out there. Anybody that's in your administration to go would be great. And of course, take lots of pictures and post them after your event. The biggest key is to celebrate success with announcements, no matter how big your event was, so that students will say, oh, I wish I'd gone to that. Boy, that looked like fun. And of course, send thank yous to all your stakeholders, your police department, anyone that's helping you get this collaboration going for your event. This was an example of our first year. A top left photo is a girl. Our first theme was just decorate your bike any way you wanted. You can see here it was her birthday, and so we took this to let everybody know how excited she was to be at Bike to School Day. In the middle picture here, again, this is one of our greatest stakeholders, our police department. They always lead and are the end of our community bike rides. On the far right, this is a breakfast picture. We have our PTO pay for parents to eat breakfast during the Bike to School and Walk to School days. So they're supported by the PTO. All parents can eat in our building too. In the far left down here, we have students that have been given their awards for their riding. That was this year's riding crew. And then just a cute picture I thought of a student showing their skills that they learned in the real world during the community bike ride. The theme for Roosevelt for this year is it will be a quacktastic Bike to School Day. We like to have themes because it really gets kids pumped up and excited, and it shows them their creativity. Just something that we do here at Roosevelt, and you can see at the bottom that we are going to be awarding prizes 1st through 3rd. We've decided at a time to leave, and we will hand out these flyers the week before, but it will be announced up to 2 weeks before that we'll be having our event. Okay, community involvement. I think this is huge because we have to be sustainable. So what we've developed here at Roosevelt is a program called Kids Without Kickstands. We provide bikes to all students that have a need. So we go out into the community and we ask parents by flyers all over the city of Cocoa Beach if you have a used or slightly used bike that you'd like to donate, and then we collect them here at the school. We work with a partnership, a collaborative effort with Matt's Bike Shop in Cocoa Beach, and he donates time. We pay for the actual equipment to be fixed on the bikes, but he donates all his time to our school. And this year, it was great that our PTO was being recognized by the Transportation Planning Organization for their community involvement with this program. So this shows our sustainability within our community to support bike and bike riding and get kids out there, and the parents and everyone at the school loves that we have this collaborative effort. What we've learned in 7 years through bike safety and our community bike rides is that we started very simple. We just got a trailer, we started with bike safety, and over time we grew into these amazing community bike rides. We have seen a significant increase in the number of students that ride to school after our bike safety is taught, and even after Bike to School Day. We see more students wearing their bike helmets properly after we've taught the process, and this is accountable by the police department. They are always giving out tokens to kids wearing their bike safety or bike helmets the right way. We see that children are much more agile on their bikes. You're going to feel confident that the community rides are going to go smoothly each and every year. And you're going to see that parents are going to get out and exercise with their children after they've been exposed to all this bike safety and community awareness. And students have an increased cardiovascular capability. We go on a 3-mile bike ride like I heard Ebenezer does too. That's about a 30 to 40 minute by the time the kids get their bikes, get their helmets, get out and ride. So it's been a great experience for children. My last thought is that we all need to teach the mindset that yes, I can ride a bike and it's really fun. I want to go through this. On the top right, this is what we keep up. Make sure you have a great bulletin board that you can put pictures and ideas and things for your bike programs. To the right side, this is an autistic student that everyone said, oh, he's not going to be able to ride. Well, within 2 years, Kevin was riding and went on a community bike ride with us. To me, that is the greatest joy that I could ever have, is teaching children the mindset that they can ride and they're going to be good at it. And when they can fulfill that 3-mile ride, it's amazing. And down here, this is an example of Kim Smith. She is, again, our Transportation Planning Organization representative. She works closely with our school and school district. So when you have collaborative efforts among many people, the programs grow and grow and grow and become as successful as ours has been over the last 7 years. I was given a special award by the Transportation Planning Organization for my efforts here at Roosevelt and within the Brevard County District. I'm here for any questions and information that you may need from me. Again, I've been doing this for many years. I enjoy it, and I know that you will have an outstanding bike to school day by getting involved and just starting with a simple goal. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Wow, 7 years. You are doing something right. So thank you both, Michelle and Nicole, and it was really great to hear your stories. We do have time for question and answer, so folks, attendees on the line, please remember if you have any questions, go into the question box, and we'll try to see what we can get through. We had a couple that came in early related to Lauren Marchetti's presentation, specifically the discussion of the Helmets on Heads giveaway, and so I thought they were great questions that we can kind of share with everyone. The first is, kind of what counts as an event, and specifically the question was, does a bike rodeo count as an event, or are you looking for an actual bike to school day theme or activity? And the answer is yes, a bike rodeo counts as an event. There's no specific definition, so anything that you're doing to acknowledge biking to school or bike to school day would be great. And then also a confirmation that there is no separate registration needed to enter into the Helmets on Heads giveaway. Just register for Bike to School Day and you're automatically entered, and that is correct. So there is no separate registration. Just be sure to enter in to Bike to School Day and register there. So other questions that have come in, and I think Nicole and Michelle, you guys are still unmuted, and if you're able, I have a couple of questions for you guys. Michelle, I have one that came in recently for you related to your community ride. The question is, how far was the ride from school to the mall?
We actually go out, it's a 3-mile ride. We go out our school, we go down Minuteman, we turn to another school. We let the kids go through their bike loop, so we wave at them. It's called Freedom 7, and then we come back. We do a high school loop and then go back to school. So it's 3 miles total.
Okay, great, great. And there's also a follow-up question. This is, I believe, related to you as well. And Nicole, if you have any responses, anything to add to these questions or these responses as well, please chime in. But another question is related to donated bikes and helmets. How do you decide who gets them? I guess the first question is, are these things that are items that are actually given to students, or is it something that you let them borrow during the on-school sessions? But if they're actually given to students, how do you decide who gets those?
Well, for kids and kickstands, I'll go first, I guess, Nicole, is that we have the event that was so last Saturday, students come that need bikes, or anybody from the community. And basically, they're just lined up, and you get the bike that you want. And that's just how it works. So the number, like if you're number 2, you get to go pick your bike. So it's like you get there early, be in line, and then you'll pick the bike that you want. And so that's how we give those out. And then the helmets are donated. Kim Smith gets our helmets from Florida donated, and I wouldn't know where all those come from.
And Nicole, your the bikes that were donated in South Carolina, those were just for use at the schools, correct? There is none that go home with the students.
Correct, yeah. So it's a permanent fleet that will stay at the school for them to use during physical education classes, and the same with those helmets. However, Safe Kids, one of the community partners, does have a set number of helmets they can give away each year, and they are required at certain community events to give away certain numbers, and so it kind of depends on, after they do their required events, what's left over, or what can the hospital then fund in addition. So we have been able to get some free helmets from them that maybe can go home with the students afterwards, but the helmet set and the bikes that were donated by Academy Sports are permanent on-site fleets to be used in physical education. And then back to the group bike ride, Ebenezer Avenue is now doing 3-mile bike rides around the community as well, so kind of stopping at a number of places, including community parks and other kind of key destinations but prior to that, when they first launched their program in the spring of 2013, their first ride was much shorter. It was just to the local university down the road and back. So it doesn't need to be as far as 3 miles if that seems daunting. They started off with a much shorter ride and then progressed up to that 3 miles.
That's good advice. That's good advice. Have an open-ended question. This is for both of you guys to just jump in, not specific to either of your presentations, but what is the biggest challenge in establishing a bike event? What would you guys say to that?
I would say just getting the appropriate approval to do everything that you want. So you have to make sure that all the ducks are in line so that you don't, get anyone upset or, that everything goes smoothly. So just making sure that everyone is on the same page that you are. So collaboration and communication. Great.
Nicole, what would you say?
Well, I agree with Michelle in saying that your law enforcement is a great partner. So a lot of routes in South Carolina that schools choose to take for Bike to School Day is heavily involved with the police department either leading that on bikes or blocking an intersection that the kids are going to be riding through. So that's going to be a key thing to make sure that route is as safe as possible, is getting their support and participation. And then secondly is just the logistics of how are parents getting the bikes to maybe a park and bike location. I know at some events I've been at, I drive a little tiny car without a bike rack, so I show up on foot and I end up kind of piling on a lot of backpacks and taking those for kids. So like figuring out how the backpacks are working on the bikes and then how the bikes are getting to the remote location, and then once they're at school, then what? Are the bikes being picked up by parents, or do you have enough bike storage location for them?
Great.
So that's another big thing to think about.
Yeah, the backpacks and the musical instruments, and I love Michelle's photo of the girl with the basket with her musical instrument in the front. So there's a point for having baskets on your bike. Michelle, question came in for you. The addition of themes to Bike to School Day is very interesting to some folks. What are some of the other themes that you had before this year?
Well, our first one was just decorate your bike any way you wanted. We wanted to see if it was going to fly. So we thought, however they come, they come. The second year, it went with our theme of the year, which was Star Students Achieving Stars. So we were all about stars and, star goals. And so everyone decorated their bikes with star themes. And this year, it went in line with the Jump for Heart. So they gave out all those ducks, 35th anniversary, so it was quacktastic. So that's how we came up with our theme. So far it's been great. Again, it's mainly just for the creative kids that really want to challenge themselves. And you got to get some incentive. So when they hear that we're going to give out these small prizes, they will do anything. So.
Right. And I guess a follow-up a question is, when you say that's how we decided these themes, who was involved in determining those themes? Was it just you, or?
Right. No, I always, again, that sort of piggybacks on what I said before. You have to make sure everybody, so it's mainly your administration making sure that they feel like it's an appropriate theme, and, just making sure that students are interested. So I usually, always target the students first. Hey, what would you guys like to see as Bike to School theme this year? And they're like, whoa, coach, whatever, and then one of the kids said, hey, what about those ducks we've been doing, and I said, perfect. So I got that idea from them, really, and then I went to my administrator and said, how do you feel about this? And she was like, I think it's cute. And so we're going with it. I got my duck hat. I'm ready.
How do you feel about ducks? It's not a question you get to ask your principal every day, right?
That's right.
One final question here, and I think this is a great one. This one is directed specifically at Nicole, but Michelle, if you have thoughts on this, please chime in. How did you identify your champions when the program was started at Ebenezer, or just generally, I guess, for anyone, how do you identify champions for school programs?
Well, our school champions are different at every school. A lot of times it's the physical education teacher, because those are the staff members that are enthusiastic and passionate about physical education opportunities and being active and getting out there and getting moving. But some schools it's a parent, or some schools it's the nurse who looks at it kind of from a health perspective. So It's different at everyone, but the biggest thing is just to get in the door. So if you're pitching this to a school for the first time, obviously your first buy-in is going to be with the principal. So getting them on board and approving something like this first. And then a lot of times that principal will know who at their school, whether it be a parent or a staff member or a faculty member, would this fit in line with their personal passions, and would they be willing to support this? So go to the principal first, and then a lot of times it's the physical education teacher or a nurse or a parent, and those are the folks that can spearhead something like this.
Great. Great answer. Anything to add, Michelle?
I would just say we do our champions by, like, the power rating that came to my mind was we had our administration, so we had our principal and our assistant principal, we had Kim Smith and the police department all read those essays before we gave out our 3 top winner awards. So the students are, held accountable. It's not just the teacher or me doing it. So, and I think that really makes them, to their best quality writing came out of those students.
Great. Great. Okay, and with that, while we still have some additional time in the hour, we're out of questions, and want to say thank you to Michelle and Nicole for the great tips. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Reminder that this webinar has been recorded and will be posted next week. I think someone specifically said, when will this be posted? We definitely want to get it up so that there's some information you can share to others while you're planning for this year's Bike to School Day. And be on the lookout for our next webinar announcement that will be out relatively soon. And with that, we're going to wrap up. Thanks again to our presenters, and I hope everyone has a great remainder of their day. Thanks so much for attending.